Chapter 47. Licentiate Yao repairs Yuan Wu Pavilion. Salt Merchant Fang shocks scholars at the enshrining of virtuous women. Yu Liang was not an ordinary man. At 7 or 8 he was a precocious boy. Later he read, studied, and thoroughly digested all the Confucian canons, histories, philosophical and miscellaneous works, so that by his 20s he was an accomplished scholar. He could immediately grasp any reference to military science, husbandry, ceremony, music, engineering, hunting, water conservatory, or fire watching. His compositions and poems were excellent too. In fact, because his great-grandfather had served as a minister, his grandfather as a hanlin, and his father as a prefect, his family had acquired true distinction. But in spite of his learning, the inhabitants of Wuhou had no respect for him. If a man was praised in Wuhou for moral character, the local people would simply scoff. At mention of ancient families, they would snort, while if a scholar was commended for writing in the classical style, the citizens' very eyebrows would twitch with laughter. If you asked what there was of note in Wuhou, they would tell you, Mr. Ping. If you asked what Wuhou was remarkable for, they would tell you, Mr. Ping. If you asked what men of learning there were, they would answer, Mr. Ping. If you asked after talent or moral character, the reply was, Mr. Ping. What impressed local people most was marriage into the Fang family of Hu Chao, and what they enjoyed most was producing ingots of silver to purchase land. Yu Liang owned several mo of land in this vulgar district, which prevented his moving elsewhere. Hence he became quite a misanthropist. His father was a man of probity, who had lived frugally while a prefect, and Yu Liang's family ate and dressed simply, and had saved a little silver. Now the prefect had retired and given up the management of the household. Each year, by strict economy, Yu saved a few more taels, then summoned a broker to ask the price of a plot of land or a house. But when agreement was nearly reached, he would vent his indignation by cursing these fellows, and refuse to buy after all. The whole district thought him mad. Still, envying his wealth, they made up to him. Old Mr. Cheng was the head of the Brokers' Guild. He bade the stewards invite their master out, and sat down with Yu in the library. "There's a plot of land to my left," said Cheng. "You needn't worry about flood or drought, and you'll get 600 bushels of rice from it every year. The fellow wants 2,000 taels. The day before yesterday, the 6th Mr. Fang made a bid for it, and the owner would have sold it if the tenants hadn't protested." "Why did the tenants protest?" inquired Yu. Because when Fang's bailiffs go down to his farms, they expect the tenants to burn incense to welcome them. And if the rent's in arrears, the tenants are beaten. That's why they didn't want the land sold to them." "But why choose to sell it to me?" demanded Yu. "Will they raise a stink when I go down to the country? If I don't beat them, will they beat me instead?" "That's not how it is at all. They know you're a kind-hearted, liberal master who won't ill-treat them like some other people. That's why I've come to offer you this bargain. Do you have any ready money?" "Naturally I have. I'll tell my man to fetch it out to show you." He ordered a servant to bring in 30 great ingots of iron, which he tossed upon the table, and Cheng's eyes followed the ingots as they rolled. Then Yu had the silver carried inside again. "I wasn't lying about my money, was I?" he said. "Go back to the country and fix up the business. When you come back, I'll buy the land." "I can't go back just yet." "What business have you here?" "Tomorrow I must call on Magistrate Wang to collect silver for an arch for a dead aunt of mine who was chased, and I mean to pay my taxes at the same time. The day after that, the 2nd Mr. Ping's daughter will be 10, and I must call to wish her a long life. The day after that, the 6th Mr. Fang has asked me to lunch. I can't go back till I've accepted his invitation." Yu suppressed a snort of laughter, and kept old Cheng to lunch. When the old man went to the yamen, Yu sent a servant to find Tang San. Because the Fangs invited Tang Er alone to their feast, Tang San kept a close watch on their movements. He knew in advance when the Fangs were having guests, and whom they were inviting, and his information was always accurate. Knowing this foible of his, Yu asked him over. "May I trouble you," said Yu, "to find out if the 6th Mr. Fang of Benevolent Fortune Shop is inviting old Cheng 3 days from now. If you bring me reliable information, I'll invite you to a meal that day." Tang San agreed to this. After quite a time, he came back. "No," he said. 3 days from now, the sixth Mr. Fang is not inviting anyone." "Capital," cried Yu. "Come here early 3 days from now, and we'll feast all day." When Tang had agreed and left, Yu told the servant to go to the chandler's and ask the clerk in confidence to write on a red invitation card, "Will you honor me at lunch on the 18th? Fang Cho." This was put in an envelope and sealed, then left on the desk in the room where old Ching slept. When Ching came back that evening from paying his taxes, he was thrown into raptures by this invitation. "I'm in luck at last," he thought. "My fib has come true, and on the same day, too." He went cheerfully to sleep. On the 18th, Tang San turned up very early. Yu invited Ching to join them in the hall, and the old man saw servant after servant passing the door to the kitchen. One carried wine, one chicken and duck, one turtle and trotters, one 4 packages of sweetmeats, and one a large plate of meat dumplings. He knew these were for a feast, but asked no questions. "Have you spoken to the carpenters and masons about repairing Yuan Wu Pavilion?" Yu asked Tang. "I have," replied Tang. "You'll need plenty of materials. The outer wall has crumbled and will be rebuilt, and a new stairwell will have to be made. It'll take the masons 3 months. The beams and pillars inside need replacing and the rafters nailing. A great many carpenters will be required. But all the repairmen, carpenters, and masons will work half-time only. You reckon on 300 taels, but I'm afraid it'll cost you 500 to finish the job." "Your worthy ancestors built Yuan Wu Pavilion," said Ching, "and it has brought such luck to our district that many scholars have passed the examinations. But nowadays only the Pengs are passing, so they ought to pay for the repairs. It's nothing to do with you. Why spend so much on it?" "That's right," Yu bowed with clasped hands. "Will you be so good as to mention it to them and ask them to contribute a few taels? I shall find some way of thanking you." "I'll mention it when I see them," said Ching. "Although there are so many officials in their family, and they look so high and mighty, they pay a good deal of attention to what I say." Now Yu's servant privately hailed a hay vendor at the back gate and gave him 4 coppers to go through the front gate and say, "Mr. Ching, I've come from the 6th Mr. Fang. He's waiting for you to go over." "Give my respects to your master," said Ching. "I'll be there right away." Then the hay vendor left. Old Ching took leave of his host, then went straight to Benevolent Fortune's shop. The gateman showed him in, and the 6th Mr. Finn came out to see him. They bowed and sat down. "When did you come to town?" asked Mr. Fang. "The day before yesterday." Ching was taken aback. "Where are you staying?" "With Yu Liang." Ching was even more bewildered. A servant brought in tea. "It's a fine day," ventured Ching. "Yes, isn't it?" rejoined Fang. Have you seen much of Magistrate Wang recently?" "I saw him the day before yesterday." They sat there with nothing to say and sipped some more tea. "The prefect hasn't been here for some time," said Ching. "If he comes to our district, he's bound to call on you before anyone else, sir. He thinks more highly of you than anyone else. In fact, you're the only man he looks up to in all this district. Who else of the local gentry can compare with you? The new judicial commissioner has arrived. I expect the prefect will pay us a visit soon." "Very true." They went on sitting there while tea was served again, but no other guest arrived and no feast was spread. Filled with misgivings, Ching began to be hungry. He decided to take his leave and see what Fang said. "I'll bid you goodbye, sir, now." He stood up to go. "Won't you stay a little longer?" Fang stood up too. "No, I really must be going." Ching took his leave and was seen to the door. He was a puzzled man as he left the gate. Did I come too early, he wondered? Have I offended him in some way, or did I read the invitation wrong? He could not understand what had happened. Yu Liang is giving a feast, he thought. I'll go back to eat before trying to get to the bottom of this. He went straight to Yu's house. Yu had a table set in the library, and there he was with Tang San, the 5th Mr. Yao, and 2 relatives, enjoying half a dozen piping hot dishes. They stood up when Cheng came in. "Mr. Cheng deserted us to enjoy Mr. Fang's rich affair," said Yu. "He must have had a good time. Hurry up and give Mr. Cheng a seat over there, and brew him some good strong tea to help his digestion." A servant placed a seat some way from the table and invited Cheng to be seated. Then bowls of strong tea were brought him one after another. The more he drank, the hungrier he grew. The poor man suffered torments. As he watched them stuffing themselves with meat, duck, and turtle, he was so enraged he nearly went up in smoke. They ate till dusk, and Cheng went hungry till dusk. But as soon as Yu saw off the guests, Cheng went on the sly to one of the steward's rooms and asked for a bowl of fried rice, which he ate with hot water. Then he went to bed but could not sleep for anger. The next day he told Yu he must go back to the country. "When shall we see you again?" asked Yu. "As soon as I've settled about that land. If that question can't be settled, I'll wait for the day when my aunt is enshrined with the other chaste women." That said, he left. Tang San called one day when Yu had nothing to do. "Friend Yu," he said, "that Mr. Chi who stayed in Precious Wood Temple did come for the prefect. The sixth Mr. Fang and the second Mr. Ping both saw him. So it was true after all. Last time you said it couldn't be true. Today you say it is. Never mind whether it's true or not. It's not worth talking about. I've never met the prefect, brother. You'll have to go to the prefecture to return this Mr. Chi's call. Will you take me to see the prefect?" "I can do that," said Yu. A few days later, they hired 2 seat-in chairs and went to Feng Yang. They handed their cards in at the yamen. Yu had brought another card for Chi Wei Hsiao, and that was taken too. Presently a man came out to announce, "Mr. Chi has gone to Yangchao, but His Honor will see you now." They went in and the prefect received them in his study. Upon coming out, they found lodgings in the east of the town. The prefect had invited them to a meal. "The prefect is inviting us tomorrow," said Tang, "but it wouldn't be right for us to stay here and wait while he sends a man all the way to fetch us. Let's wait in Rising Dragon Temple just outside the yamen, so that we can go in as soon as he sends for us." "All right," said Yu with a laugh. The next day after lunch, they went to wait in a monk's house at Rising Dragon Temple. They could hear delightful music and singing from another monk's house next door. "That's good performance," remarked Tang San. "I'm going to have a look." He came back presently, quite crestfallen. "You've done me a bad turn," he said to Wu. "Who do you think is having a party there?" "It's the 6th Mr. Fang of Benevolent Fortune Shop and the son of Prefect Li. The table is splendidly set out, and each of them is cuddling a young actor. They're having the time of their lives. If I'd known they were on such friendly terms, I'd have come the day before yesterday with Mr. Fang. If I'd come with him, I'd be with the prefect's son now. Coming with you, I've seen the prefect, but we're not on familiar footing like that. This isn't half so much fun." "You were the one to suggest it," countered Yu. "I didn't force you to come. If Mr. Fang is here, why don't you join him? Colleagues must stand by each other. I shall go with you to dine with the prefect." Just then a messenger arrived to fetch them, and they went into the yamen. The prefect greeted them and declared himself glad to see them. "When are your chaste women to be enshrined?" he asked. I want to go down for the sacrifice. When we go back, we'll fix a date," they told him. "Your Honor will naturally be invited." After the meal, they left. The next day they sent in cards to take their leave, and went back to their district. The day after Yu reached home, Yu Ta came to him. "The 3rd of next month has been settled on," said Yu, "to celebrate womanly virtue. There are several great aunts in our 2 families who ought to be enshrined. We should prepare a sacrifice and gather together all our clansmen to escort their shrines to the ancestral temple. I suggest we go and pass the word around." "Most certainly," agreed Yu. "My family has one to be enshrined, your family has 2. Our 2 clans must have nearly 150 members. We should all assemble in official dress to welcome the retinue, as befits 2 distinguished families. I'll go to tell my kinsmen, you tell yours." Yu made the round of his relatives and was absolutely enraged. He was much too angry to sleep that night. Early the next day Yu arrived, rolling his eyes in fury. "What did your clan say, cousin?" asked Yu. "Well, what did your clan say? Why are you so angry?" "Don't remind me of it. I went to tell my kinsmen, and if they had refused to come, it wouldn't have mattered. But they said that since old Miss Fang is being enshrined, they must join her in procession. They urged me to join it too. And when I took exception to this, they jeered at me for being old-fashioned. Have you ever heard of anything so infuriating? My family was the same, said Yu with a smile. I couldn't sleep for rage. Tomorrow I shall prepare a sacrifice and escort my own great-aunt's shrine without them. I shall have to do the same. So the matter was settled. On the third, Yu put on new clothes and a new cap, and ordered a servant to carry a table of offerings to his eighth cousin's house. He found a place deserted, without a soul to be seen. His eighth cousin, who was a poor licentiate, came out in a ragged cap and gown to greet him. Yu Liang went to bow before his great-aunt's shrine, then carried it to the stand. They had hired an old cedarn-like stand and 2 shoulder poles, and 4 country fellows carried this lopsidedly along without any retinue. 4 musicians blew a ragged fanfare in front as they carried the shrine to the street, while Yu and his cousins followed behind. From the door of the ancestral temple, they could make out 2 other derelict stands in the distance, escorted by no musicians but followed by Yu Ta and Yu Chung. When the Yu brothers reached the temple, the 4 scholars greeted each other. Honoring the classics pavilion before the temple was hung with lanterns and streamers, and there a feast had been laid. There was a high pavilion in the middle of the road, commanding a fine view on every side, and actors were carrying up their property. Mr. Fang's actors have come, the stand-bearers said. They stood there for a little till they heard 3 cannon shots. Old Mr. Fang has arrived, said the bearers. Presently gonging and drumming filled the street. 2 yellow umbrellas and 8 flags appeared, as well as 4 groups of horsemen bearing placards inscribed, "The Minister of Ceremony," "The Han Lin," "The Provincial Director of Education," and "The Number 1 Graduate." These had been lent by the Yu and Yu families. As the procession drew near, gongs and trumpets sounded. Incense was burned, and the crowd thronged round Mr. Fang's shrine, which was carried by 8 big-footed maids. The 6th Mr. Fang in a gauze cap and round collar followed respectfully behind. After him came 2 groups, the Gendry and the scholars. The Gendry included the 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 7th Peng brothers. Then came the metropolitan and provincial graduates, senior licentiates, and college scholars of the Yu and Yu families, 60 to 70 in all. In gauze caps and round collars, they followed respectfully behind the Pengs. In their wake came another 60 to 70 licentiates from the Yu and Yu families, in scholars' caps and gowns, who scuttled hastily after them. The last of the local Gendry, Tang Er, held a notebook in which he was writing down a record. The last of the licentiates, Tang San, also carried a notebook in which he was writing a record. Because the Yu and Yu families had a scholarly tradition and some proper feeling, when they reached the ancestral temple and saw their own aunt's shrines there, 7 or 8 of them came over to bow. Then they surged after Mrs. Fang's shrine into the temple. Behind them were the magistrate, local teacher, district police warden, and sergeant, who came with a retinue to play music and set up the shrine. The magistrate, teacher, police warden, and sergeant each sacrificed in turn. Then the local Gendry and scholars sacrificed. And last of all, the Fang family sacrificed. When this was over, they all rushed noisily out, and mounted honoring the classics pavilion for the feast. When the crowd had left, Yu and Yu carried their shrines inside, and set them in the proper places. Yu had prepared a table of sacrificial objects. Yu Ta 3 offerings. The sacrifice at an end, the table was carried out. Since there was nowhere to enjoy the food, they decided to go to a college attendance house. Yu Ta looked up at the richly dressed men on honoring the classics pavilion, who were toasting each other. The 6th Mr. Fang seemed uncomfortable after such a long ceremony. He replaced his gauze cap and round collar with a headcloth and ordinary gown, then wandered up and down the balconies. Soon a flower seller named Chuang came along, and her big feet climbed the pavilion stairway. "I came to see the old lady enshrined," she chuckled. The 6th Mr. Fang fairly beamed. He stood beside her, leaning against the railing, watching the flags and musicians, pointing out this and that and explaining things to her. The flower woman kept one hand on the railing, and with the other undid her clothes to search for lice, which she popped in her mouth as she caught them. Yu Ta was completely disgusted. "Let's not feast here," he suggested. "Have the table carried home, cousin, and my brother and I will come to your house. We had better not look at such maddening sights." The table was carried off, and the four of them followed it home. "Cousin," said Yu Ta on the way, "this district of ours has no sense of morality left, nor is there a single good teacher in the college. Such things could never be done before Dr. Yu in Nanking." "Dr. Yu doesn't lay down restrictions," said Yu Ta, "but people are so influenced by his virtue that they naturally refrain from improper conduct." They sighed, returned home, and feasted, then went their ways. By now work had started on Yuan Wu Pavilion, and Yu went over every day to supervise the repairs. One evening when he came home, he found old Cheng sitting in the library. Yu bowed down to him, and tea was served. "Why didn't you come the other day, uncle?" asked Yu, "when the chaste wives and widows were enshrined?" "I meant to come, but I was too ill," replied Cheng. "When my brother came to the country, he said it was a splendid night. The Fang procession filled half the street, with Magistrate Wang as well as the Peng family escorting the shrine. There was a feast and opera performed at Honoring the Classics Pavilion, and people flocked in from all country round. None but the Fangs could put on such a show, they said. You must have been drinking without me at the pavilion. Didn't you know I escorted my 8th grade aunt that day?" "Your 8th cousin is too poor to buy himself trousers," sneered Cheng. "Not one of your relatives will call on him. You must be joking. Of course you escorted Mrs. Fang. Of course you escorted Mrs. Fang." "Well, let's not talk of what is past," replied Yu. After dinner, Cheng said, "The owner of that land and the middleman have both come to town and are staying in Precious Wood Temple. If you want the land, the thing can be settled tomorrow." "Let's assume I want it," said Yu. "There's another thing. I was the one to tell you about this land, and I want a 50-tael fee out of this transaction. I'd like you to pay me that. I'll get the middleman's money out of him." "Of course. You shall have a whole ingot, uncle." Ching gave him an account of the taxes, land cost, balance to be used, and quality of the silver, the price of the fowl and fodder, the fee for the witnesses and the deed, and so forth. He brought the landlord and middleman to Yu's house first thing the next morning, but when he went into the study to ask Yu to sign the contract, he saw a crowd of carpenters and masons drawing their pay. Yu was handing out 50-tael ingots right and left, and had soon disposed of several hundred taels. When he had finished, Cheng asked him to sign the contract. "The land's too dear. I don't want it." Yu glared at him. Old Cheng was frightened nearly out of his wits. "I mean it, uncle," said Yu. "I don't want the land." And he ordered his servants, "Go and turn these muddy-legged bumpkins out of the hall." Between anger and dismay, Cheng's face was a study, but he had to go to send the countrymen away. To know what followed, you must read the next chapter.